A massive warship hung silently in Earth's orbit, its dark hull reflecting the golden sunlight. Captain James Walker stood at the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, his hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the message displayed on the main screen. After 50 years of watching the galaxy from afar, humanity had finally received its first official summons to the Galactic Council. "Captain, all systems are ready for the jump," reported First Officer Tom Reed. His voice carried a mix of excitement and tension that matched the mood of the entire bridge crew. Walker nodded slowly, his weathered face showing no emotion. At 45 years old, he had spent most of his life preparing for this moment. Earth's self-imposed isolation had been a calculated move, giving humanity time to develop technologies that the other races couldn't even imagine. "Send confirmation to Earth Command," Walker ordered. "Tell them we're proceeding to the Council Station." The Thunderchild's engines hummed to life, a deep vibration that ran through the entire ship. To most alien races, the vessel would appear primitive with its angular design and thick armor plates. That was exactly what humanity wanted them to think. "Jump drive charging," announced the ship's AI, its voice calm and steady. "Coordinates locked on Council Station Alpha. Warning, high traffic area detected." Walker allowed himself a small smile. Of course there would be traffic. The Council had called an emergency session, and representatives from hundreds of worlds would be arriving in their most impressive ships. The Thunderchild, despite being what humans classified as a medium-class vessel, was larger than most alien flagships. The jump itself was smooth, a testament to human engineering. The starfield shifted, and suddenly they were there. Council Station Alpha hung before them like a massive silver wheel, its spokes extending outward into space. Hundreds of ships surrounded it, their designs as varied as the races that built them. "Multiple scanning attempts detected," reported Security Chief Lisa Green. "Their sensors are trying to penetrate our hull." "Let them try," Walker said calmly. The Thunderchild's hull was designed to feed false data to any scanning attempts. Let the aliens think they were seeing the full picture. As they approached the station, the radio crackled with an incoming transmission. A high-pitched, clearly non-human voice spoke in standard Galactic. "Human vessel, you are cleared for docking at Bay 47. Please follow the guide lights and maintain minimum thrust. Your unusual design requires special handling protocols." The bridge crew exchanged knowing looks. The alien controller's condescending tone was exactly what they had expected. Humanity's reputation as newcomers to space travel had been carefully cultivated over the decades. The Thunderchild moved with surprising grace for its size, sliding into the massive docking bay with precision that caused several nearby alien ships to adjust their positions nervously. Through the bridge windows, Walker could see various alien crews staring at their ship with what looked like a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "Docking complete," announced the AI. "Station atmosphere compatible with human life. No biological hazards detected." Walker straightened his black uniform and turned to his crew. "Remember your briefing. No matter what we see or hear in there, we maintain protocol. Earth has waited 50 years for this moment. Let's not spoil it by revealing our hand too soon." As he walked toward the airlock with his small diplomatic team, Walker thought about the real reason they had been summoned. The Galactic Council never invited new races without a crisis to solve. The recent reports of the swarm's activities at the galaxy's edge suggested that the Council was finally desperate enough to reach out to the primitive humans. The airlock cycled, and the small team stepped onto Council Station Alpha. Aliens of various shapes and sizes stopped to stare at them. Walker kept his face neutral, but inside, he felt a grim satisfaction. Soon, they would all learn that humanity's isolation hadn't been about fear or weakness. It had been about preparation. The council chamber was a vast circular room with rising tiers of seats, designed to hold representatives from over 500 alien species. Captain Walker and his team sat quietly in their assigned section, watching the drama unfold before them. The chamber's white walls pulsed with soft light, a stark contrast to the dark mood that filled the room. High Counselor Rel, a tall being with silvery skin and 4 arms, stood at the central platform. His voice boomed through the chamber's perfect acoustics. The swarm has broken through our defensive line in the Orient sector. 3 populated systems have gone dark in the past day alone. Holographic displays lit up the chamber center, showing the movement of the swarm fleet. Thousands of biological ships, each one looking like a cross between an insect and a nightmare, swarmed through space like angry hornets. Walker watched as the display showed them tearing through the Council's most advanced warships as if they were made of paper. "Our weapons are useless," shouted a reptilian delegate from the upper tier. "The swarm adapts to everything we throw at them. They've even started copying our shield technology." The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates jumped to their feet, shouting suggestions and accusations. Some demanded immediate evacuation of threatened systems, while others called for surrendering territory to buy time. Walker noticed how none of them suggested actually fighting back anymore. They had already accepted defeat. "The combined fleet reports total losses of 68%, announced a military advisor, his tentacles waving in distress. "The remaining ships are retreating to fallback positions, but the swarm's biological missiles can track them through jump space." Walker quietly tapped data into his personal device, analyzing the tactical displays. The swarm's movement patterns were complex but not random. They showed signs of intelligence, and more importantly, signs of weakness that none of the Council races had noticed. "The Centauri sector will be hit next," High Counselor Rel declared grimly. "We estimate less than 48 hours before the swarm reaches its first inhabited world. The evacuation ships cannot move fast enough." A small bird-like alien rose from its perch. "What about the rumors? They say the swarm never approaches human space, even though Earth is closer to their territory than we are." All eyes turned to Walker and his team. The human captain could feel the mix of desperate hope and ingrained dismissal in their stares. These races had spent decades looking down on humanity as primitive newcomers to space travel. Now they wondered if the humans knew something they didn't. High Counselor Rel's 4 hands gripped the podium. "Captain Walker, your species was invited here because some believe you might have insights into this crisis. Though I personally doubt what a single human ship could offer against a threat that defeats our combined fleets." Walker stood slowly, his movements deliberate and calm. He had waited for this moment, carefully choosing his words. "The Thunderchild requests permission to engage the swarm's main fleet." Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. A large gelatinous being wobbled with amusement. "One ship. The swarm just destroyed 300 of our most advanced vessels." "Nevertheless," Walker continued, his voice steady, "we believe we can stop their advance." High Counselor Rel's expression shifted between amusement and desperation. "You understand, Captain, that this is not a game. The swarm has consumed 12 systems in the past month alone. Their biological weapons tear through our strongest shields. Their ships regenerate damage within minutes." Walker allowed himself a small smile. "Yes, we've been watching. For 50 years, we've been watching everything. Perhaps it's time we showed you why humanity chose to develop its military in isolation." The chamber fell silent. In that moment, as the tactical displays showed the unstoppable advance of the swarm, the Council faced a simple choice: trust in humanity's mysterious confidence or watch their worlds burn. Walker stood at the center of the Council chamber, his black uniform a stark contrast to the white walls and flowing robes of the alien representatives. The tactical displays around him showed the swarm's unstoppable advance in angry red markers, spreading like a virus across the star charts. "You want to hear our proposal?" Walker asked, his voice carrying easily through the massive room. "Humanity will stop the swarm's advance. In return, the Council acknowledges Earth as a full-member world, with all rights and privileges." High Counselor Rel's silver skin rippled with what might have been laughter. "Captain Walker, you stand here in a ship that still uses primitive metal armor, while our fleets deploy living crystal and energy shields. What could you possibly offer?" Walker pulled out his data pad and connected it to the chamber's display system. The holographic display shifted, showing the Thunderchild in detail. You see metal armor because that's what we want you to see. Your sensors show you what we want them to show you. Did none of you wonder why the swarm avoids human space? A murmur ran through the chamber. The bird-like alien from earlier fluttered its wings nervously. Are you saying you fought the swarm before? No, Walker replied, tapping his pad again. The display zoomed in on various sections of the Thunderchild. We've never needed to fight them. They tested our borders once, 15 years ago. They lost 30 ships in under 2 minutes. They never came back. The chamber erupted in shouts of disbelief. High Counselor Rel raised all 4 arms for silence. Impossible. Their ships regenerate faster than any weapon can damage them. Even our quantum disruptors barely slow them down. Walker's smile was cold. The swarm adapts quickly, yes, but they can only adapt to threats they understand. Humanity took a different path in weapons development. We don't use living crystal or energy matrices. We went in directions your scientists dismissed centuries ago. The display showed new angles of the Thunderchild, revealing hidden weapon ports and systems that the Council's scans had missed completely. The alien representatives leaned forward, their various eyes and sensory organs fixed on the revelations before them. While you focused on defensive technology, hoping to outlast your enemies, Walker continued, we focused on ending fights before they began. Your ships are marvels of sustainability. Ours are built to strike once, strike hard, and leave nothing behind. Pretty words, rumbled a massive delegate from the mineral-based species, but words don't kill swarm ships. Walker nodded to his communication officer, who sent a new data packet to the display. The hologram showed a recording from 15 years ago, the swarm's first and last incursion into human space. The council chamber fell deadly silent as they watched 30 swarm ships simply disappear. No explosion, no debris. They were there one moment, gone the next. That, Walker said into the silence, was an early prototype of what we now call the Void Lance. The current version is considerably more efficient. High Counselor Rel's silver skin had taken on a distinctly pale shade. If you have such weapons, why come to us at all? Why seek council membership? Because isolation has served its purpose, Walker answered. Humanity developed its technology alone to avoid outside influence and conventional thinking. But now it's time to rejoin the galactic community. We offer our protection in exchange for equal standing. The chamber buzzed with urgent discussions. Delegates huddled in groups, their universal translators working overtime as they debated the proposal. Walker stood calmly, waiting. He knew what their answer would be. The swarm had left them no choice. High Counselor Rel finally spoke, his voice carrying a new note of respect. The Council accepts your proposal, Captain Walker. Show us what humanity can do. Walker's reply was interrupted by a priority alert. The tactical displays flashed red as new data poured in. The swarm had changed course. They were heading straight for the council station. Red warning lights flashed throughout the council chamber as the swarm's approach triggered every defense system on the station. The massive holographic display showed thousands of biological ships moving as one massive wave, their chitinous hulls reflecting the light of nearby stars. All council ships, battle positions. High Counselor Rel shouted, his 4 arms working multiple control panels. Defensive fleet, engage protection protocols. Walker watched calmly as chaos erupted around him. Alien representatives rushed to evacuation points, while military commanders barked orders to their ships. The Council's defensive fleet, already battered from previous encounters, moved to form a barrier between the station and the approaching swarm. Captain Walker, Rel turned to him, silver skin pulsing with stress patterns. Now would be an excellent time to demonstrate these superior human weapons you spoke of. Walker touched his communicator. Bridge, tactical status. All systems green, Captain. Tom Reed's voice came through clearly. The Thunderchild is ready. AI combat systems are online. Walker's next words silenced the panicking chamber. Thunderchild, initiate battle configuration alpha. Full reveal. On the main display, the council representatives watched in stunned silence as the Thunderchild began to change. The supposedly solid metal hull split along previously invisible seams. Layers of armor shifted and realigned, revealing weapon systems that had been completely hidden from alien sensors. First revelation, Walker announced, his voice steady. Human ships don't use fixed configurations. Every surface can be a weapon platform. Every panel can be a sensor array. The Thunderchild's transformation continued. Massive cannon barrels emerged from hiding spots. Energy collection dishes unfolded like blooming flowers. The ship that had appeared primitive now bristled with technology that made the Council race's most advanced weapons look like toys. Second revelation, Walker continued as stunned gasps filled the chamber. We don't build specialized ships. Every human vessel is a weapons platform, a science vessel, and a carrier combined. The Thunderchild carries enough firepower to glass a continent. High Counselor Rel stared at the display, all four hands gripping his podium. Impossible. Our best sensors showed nothing of this. Third revelation, Walker said, allowing himself a small smile. Human stealth technology doesn't just hide our ships. It hides our true capabilities. Everything you thought you knew about us was exactly what we wanted you to think. The swarm fleet drew closer, their bioships spreading out in attack formation. The Council's defensive fleet looked tiny in comparison, their ships already charging their supposedly advanced energy weapons. Captain, Tom Reed's voice came through again. Swarm ships are launching biological missiles. Time to impact with Council fleet, 30 seconds. Walker nodded. Thunderchild, deploy point defense grid. Hundreds of small ports opened along the transformed ship's hull. Tiny lights sparkled as the point defense system came online. Another technology the Council races had abandoned centuries ago in favor of energy shields. Fourth revelation, Walker announced as the first wave of biological missiles approached. Humans never stopped improving the basics. Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways. The chamber watched in awe as the Thunderchild's point defense grid activated. Streams of hypervelocity projectiles filled space with a geometric pattern of destruction. The biological missiles, which had torn through the Council's best shields, were shredded before they could get within 10,000 kilometers. Final revelation, Walker said, his voice carrying a hint of steel. The Thunderchild isn't here to help your fleet fight the swarm. We're here to end this threat, permanently. He turned to High Counselor Rel, whose silver skin had taken on a distinctly pale hue. Watch carefully, Counselor. You're about to see why humanity spent 50 years preparing for this moment. The Thunderchild's main weapons began to power up, and for the first time in centuries, the swarm was about to face something it couldn't adapt to. Space lit up with impossible colors as the Thunderchild's main weapons discharged for the first time. The Council chamber fell silent, every alien representative transfixed by the display screens. What they witnessed defied everything they thought they knew about warfare. Target lock confirmed, announced the Thunderchild's AI. Firing solution computed. Primary weapon systems engage. The first shot from the human warship wasn't an energy beam or a plasma burst. Instead, a small black projectile shot out from the main cannon, moving at speeds that made even light seem slow. It struck the lead swarm ship and simply erased it. A perfect sphere of empty space appeared where the massive bioship had been, taking out dozens of smaller ships caught in the void effect. Antimatter torpedo, contained in a temporal stasis field, Walker explained calmly. The field collapses on impact, allowing the antimatter to interact with normal space. No shields can stop it because it removes the space they occupy. The swarm reacted instantly, their hive mind recognizing the threat. Thousands of bioships turned as one, biological weapons charging. They launched a massive wave of living missiles, each one adapted to penetrate the strongest known shields. Interesting, Walker noted, watching the incoming swarm. They're using their most advanced weapons right away. They recognize us as a serious threat. The Thunderchild's point defense grid activated again, but this time it did more than just destroy the incoming missiles. Each intercepted projectile was analyzed by the ship's AI. Its data fed into the targeting computers. The human vessel was learning, adapting faster than even the swarm could. Second volley, different approach. Walker ordered. Show them the rail cannons. The transformed hull of the Thunderchild bristled as hundreds of smaller weapons opened fire. Super-accelerated rounds, each one containing a miniature AI core, streaked toward the swarm fleet. The bioships tried to adapt, generating new forms of shields, but the smart bullets simply changed course mid-flight, finding weak points in their defenses. From the council chamber, High Counselor Rel watched in amazement as the single human ship did what entire fleets had failed to accomplish. Their weapons, they're not just powerful, they're intelligent. All human weapons have AI cores, Walker confirmed. They learn and adapt just like the swarm does. The difference is, ours learn faster. The swarm changed tactics, splitting their fleet into smaller groups, trying to surround the Thunderchild. Their bioships began rapid evolution cycles, growing new weapons and defenses specifically to counter what they'd seen so far. Walker smiled. They had fallen for it. Deploy the Whispers, he commanded. Tiny dots of light, barely visible on the tactical displays, shot out from the Thunderchild in all directions. The council representatives squinted at their screens, trying to understand what they were seeing. Quantum aerodrones, Walker explained, each one carrying a fragment of our combat computer's consciousness. They're about to show you why we call them Whispers. The dots of light reached the swarm formations and began to sing, not with sound, but with quantum frequencies that resonated with the very fabric of spacetime. The bioships closest to the Whispers began to shudder, their biological systems thrown into chaos by signals they couldn't adapt to. The swarm's strength is their ability to evolve and adapt, Walker said, watching the battle unfold. The Whispers don't give them anything to adapt to. They simply convince space itself to reject their presence. The massive swarm fleet, which had terrorized the galaxy for so long, began to break apart. Some ships turned on each other, their hive mind corrupted by the quantum Whispers. Others simply ceased to exist, their molecular structures gently persuaded to stop holding together. In the council chamber, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence as humanity's true military power was finally revealed. The Thunderchild hadn't just engaged the swarm. It was systematically taking apart the most dangerous threat the galaxy had ever faced. And it was doing it with elegance. The swarm's hive mind had never known fear before this moment. But as the Thunderchild tore through its fleet with impossible weapons, something very close to panic began to spread through its collective consciousness. The bioships, still functional after the quantum Whispers attack, gathered together, merging into something new and terrible. They're combining their ships, reported Tom Reed through the command channel. Some kind of emergency adaptation. Size readings are off the charts. Walker watched as hundreds of surviving swarm ships melted together, forming a massive creature that dwarfed even the council station. Its surface rippled with countless weapon ports, each one copied from the most effective weapons the swarm had encountered in its long history of conquest. Fascinating, Walker said, his calm voice at odds with the tension in the council chamber. They're throwing everything they have into one final form, all or nothing. High Counselor Rel's silver skin flickered with stress patterns. That thing is bigger than anything we've ever seen them create. It's combining all their most dangerous weapons. The massive swarm entity opened fire, beams of pure entropy, missiles made of condensed dark matter, and waves of quantum disruption. Every deadly weapon the swarm had copied or developed over centuries of warfare, all focused on the single human ship. Energy readings beyond measurable scales, called out Lisa Green from her security station. They're hitting us with enough firepower to crack a planet. Walker's slight smile never wavered. Perfect. They've done exactly what we wanted. Thunderchild, activate the mirror shield. The space around the human warship shimmed like heat waves over hot pavement. As the swarm's combined assault reached the distortion, something impossible happened. Every beam, every missile, every attack bent back on itself, curving through space like light around a black hole. The mirror shield doesn't stop attacks, Walker explained to the stunned council representatives. It redirects them. The more power our enemy uses, the more they damage themselves. The massive swarm entity screamed in frequencies that made the council station's sensors overload. Its own weapons, twisted back against it, began tearing through its combined form. But the hive mind wasn't finished. The creature's surface bubbled and shifted, trying to adapt to even this impossible defense. They're attempting to copy the mirror shield, Tom Reed reported. Their adaptation rate is accelerating. Walker nodded. Time for the killing stroke. Deploy the null seeds. Small black dots, barely visible against space's darkness, shot out from ports along the Thunderchild's hull. They moved slowly compared to the ship's other weapons, drifting almost lazily toward the wounded swarm entity. What are those? High Counselor Rel asked, leaning forward to study the tactical display. The ultimate expression of human military science, Walker answered. Each seed contains a bubble of artificially created space operating under different physical laws, laws that don't allow for the existence of matter or energy as we know it. The null seeds reached the massive bioship and began to expand. Wherever they touched, parts of the creature simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not transformed, simply negated, as if that section of space had forgotten how to contain anything at all. The swarm entity thrashed, trying desperately to adapt to something that rewrote the fundamental rules of existence. But there was no adapting to this. Its attempts to evolve only spread the null seed's effect faster through its combined mass. You see, Walker said as the massive creature began to break apart, humanity didn't just develop better weapons. We learned to change the rules of the game entirely. The swarm adapts to everything it encounters, but it can only adapt within the bounds of normal physics. The council representatives watched in awe as the mighty swarm entity, the combination of their deadliest enemy's greatest weapons and defenses, was systematically erased from existence. Space itself seemed to sigh as the last traces of the massive bioship faded away. But in that final moment, the swarm had one last card to play. In its final moments of existence, the massive swarm entity released something into space. Thousands of tiny spores, each smaller than a grain of sand, scattered in all directions. The council chamber erupted in panic as their sensors detected the spores' makeup. Those are swarm reproduction cells. A scientist shouted, his tentacles waving in alarm. If even one reaches a habitable world, the swarm can rebuild itself. But Walker didn't appear concerned. Instead, he touched his communicator and said one word: clean. The Thunderchild's hull shifted again, panels sliding apart to reveal a soft blue light. The light spread outward in a perfect sphere, gentle as a morning sunrise. Where it touched the swarm spores, they simply stopped being. Not with violence or destruction, but with a quiet finality that seemed almost peaceful. Probability field generator, Walker explained to the stunned chamber. It adjusts the quantum likelihood of things existing. We just convinced those spores that they had a 0% chance of being real. High Counselor Rel stood slowly, his silver skin now showing patterns of deep respect. Your ship, it's not just a weapon, is it? It's something entirely new, something we never even imagined was possible. Walker nodded. The Thunderchild represents humanity's different approach to space warfare. While the council races focused on making better versions of existing technology, we ask ourselves different questions. Not how do we make stronger weapons, but how do we change the rules of combat itself? The tactical displays now showed empty space where the mighty swarm had been. 50 years of terror ended in a single battle. The council representatives began to whisper among themselves, their earlier disdain for humanity replaced by something between awe and fear. "And you say this is only a medium-class vessel?" asked the bird-like alien who had first mentioned humanity's mysterious relationship with the swarm. "The Thunderchild is a test bed," Walker confirmed. "A platform for trying out new concepts. Our actual military vessels are considerably more advanced." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just defeated the galaxy's greatest threat. They had done it with what amounted to a practice ship. High Counselor Rel raised all four arms, a gesture of formal respect rarely shown to newcomers. "Captain Walker, the Council officially acknowledges Earth as a full-member world, with all rights and privileges. We would also request the opportunity to learn from humanity's advances." Walker's slight smile returned. "That was always the plan, Counselor. Humanity's isolation wasn't about keeping ourselves separate forever. It was about developing our technology free from preconceptions about what was or wasn't possible." He gestured to the tactical displays, now showing the Thunderchild returning to its original, seemingly primitive form. "We're ready to share our advances, to help build a stronger galaxy. But remember this moment. Remember that appearance isn't everything, and that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe is simply thinking differently." As the council chamber buzzed with excited discussion about the future, Walker sent a brief message to Earth Command. "Phase 1 complete. The galaxy is ready for humanity's return." The response came back almost instantly. "Well done, Captain. The diplomatic fleet is standing by. Show them what peace looks like." Walker looked out at the assembled alien representatives, who now watched him with a mixture of respect, curiosity, and just a touch of healthy fear. Humanity had revealed its power, yes, but now came the harder task: showing the galaxy that humans could be more than just warriors. As if reading his thoughts, High Counselor Rel approached him privately. "Your weapons are incredible, Captain, but I suspect we've only begun to see what humanity can do." Walker's answer was simple. "The Thunderchild showed you how humans fight. Wait until you see how we build."